If you struggle to say the things that you want to say, when you want to say them, and the way you want to say them, then you're going to want to follow this series. If your speech has been holding you back, it's been making your social life not as exciting and pleasant as you'd like it to be, if it has been holding you back in your career, that is your professional life, because you're not able to perhaps introduce yourself, or you're not able to say all the things that you want to say in meetings, or you've been kind of holding yourself back or avoiding applying for those next level jobs, then you're going to want to watch this series. My name is Michael Williams, Pro90D founder and speech coach, and we're going to be continuing our series, 3 Steps to Level Up Your Speech. That is, take your speech to the next level. And today, we'll be looking specifically at 2 ways to create your new speaking style. Now, why would you want to create a new speaking style? Well, the reason that this is so important is because if you continue to speak the way you're currently speaking, then what's going to be the result? Well, the result is going to be that you'll continue to get the same responses. You'll continue to struggle in the same way. You'll continue to avoid. You'll continue to have to switch words, or you'll continue to get cloudy and forget what you want to say, even though you know or you knew what you wanted to say. You'll continue to struggle in the same ways that you have been struggling. So if you want to change that, it means you have to create a new way of speaking, a new speaking style. Now, Pro90D is holistic. We're only focused on one aspect. Remember, there's 3 major aspects of Pro90D. We address 3 aspects of your speech. Your speaking style, that is how you actually speak. Your mindset, how you think and what you think and how you feel. And your speaking identity, how you see yourself, who you believe yourself to be. In these sessions, we're only going to be dealing mostly with your speaking style. And so we've created a little acronym, CPU, to help you remember the 3 steps. Create your new speaking style, practice your new speaking style, and use your new speaking style. So today, we're going to be looking at how to create your new speaking style, and we'll be looking at 2 ways that you can do that. 2 ways that you can do that, okay? So the first way, as you may have seen on the previous page, is something called modeling. Sometimes we spell it with 1 L and sometimes 2. So we're going to talk about what modeling is and how to do it. And then we're going to talk about the second way, which is developing and learning proactive speaking skills. So what is modeling? Well, modeling is something that you and I naturally know how to do. Modeling is also a part of what we call observational learning. What's observational learning? Well, observational learning is a way that you and I observe other people around us, right? We watch them, we listen to them, right? We hear them, we listen to them. We can read, right? We can taste, but primarily we're going to be talking about watching and listening. So we watch people around us, we listen to them. We sometimes consciously learn, like we consciously model, that is, we're looking, we're studying, we're imitating, or we unconsciously model. That is, we are not deliberately, intentionally trying to learn from someone, but we do. Okay? Now, this happens to us all the time. That's why people will tell you, and your parents have probably told you, be careful about the people that you hang around with. Why? Because observational learning is going on all the time. The people that you and I associate ourselves with is going to have an impact on the kinds of people that we become, our behaviors, our attitudes, our thoughts, right? Things that we do. Why? Because you are unconsciously absorbing, that is, taking in what's being said, what you're hearing. You're taking in what you're watching. You're taking in spiritual aspects, right? You're taking in your environment. So it's very important to be careful of what you're allowing into your senses, that is, who is around you, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're reading, what you're thinking about, what you're talking about. So unconscious modeling unconscious observation is happening all the time. You and I learned our first language, and quite possibly our second language or third language, but our first language, and many of our personality characteristics through observational learning, right? This is an absolute fact. So when you were growing up, you probably were not consciously trying to model, but you observed your family members and you picked up certain characteristics. You picked up their accent. You picked up how they spoke, okay? So you were unconsciously observing, you were unconsciously modeling the people around you, and that's how you learned to speak the language that you did, okay? Now, you and I can also consciously model. That is, we can intentionally look at the way someone speaks and we can imitate them, we can copy them, we can mimic them, right? We can act like them. And that's what Pro 90D does. In fact, modeling is a foundational principle, it's a foundational part of the entire Pro 90D smooth speech system, and it works. And there have been quite a few studies done and some books written on the power of modeling. So we're going to talk about some of the benefits of modeling, and then we'll talk about just one or two ways that you can model. And in the email, I've actually given you an example, a prime example, from a young lady named Mona, who's going on to do great things. She just texted me not too long ago about some of the great things that she's still doing. She says, I owe this all to Pro 90D and to the coaching work that I did with you, Michael. And we'll talk about that. But in this video, you'll hear how she modeled. So watch this video. Since she's done that video, I've had maybe hundreds of people say how much of a blessing that video has been to them. Just inspiring, and it's helped them see how someone just like them used modeling to completely and relatively quickly transform their speech, their mindset, and their speaking identity. She went on to win awards and get jobs and earn more money and just have a better life overall. And you can do the same thing. So let's talk about some of the benefits of modeling. So one benefit is it acts as what we call a positive distractor. A positive distractor. So what's a positive distractor? Well, let's talk about what a negative distractor is. How many times have you been in a conversation, in a meeting or presentation, and you start to anticipate words, that you start to see words that you say, uh-oh, I know I'm going to have problems with. I'm not going to be able to say this word, or I think or I believe I'm going to have a problem with this word. Or a situation where you know you're going to have to introduce yourself, and because of your previous history, your previous experiences, you get this sense or this feeling like, I'm probably going to get stuck, probably going to have problems introducing myself, right? Or a phone call. Any situation that you're in where you begin to negatively anticipate what's going to happen, right? You start to worry about it, and that causes you to become more anxious. And I've actually observed my clients doing this. I will ask them to say a word, to say a difficult word, and when they're speaking, before they ever get to that word, they start to have trouble with the words that come before it. So they haven't even gotten to the difficult word, but because they're negatively anticipating or worrying about it, they start to become anxious and they start to struggle with all of the words that come before it. So what's happening is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you're anxious about it and nervous and you're thinking about it in a negative way, you actually begin to create the situation and circumstances in which you actually struggle with that word. So one of the benefits of modeling is it acts as a positive distractor. So a negative distractor is you're worrying about, negatively anticipating that you're going to have problems, that you're going to struggle with this word or with this speaking situation, whatever it may be. A positive distractor, on the other hand, is something that's going to possibly move you in the direction of your goal, which is to say what you want to say, the way you want to say it, when you want to say it, right? So when you model, you are thinking about, right? You're actually taking on the identity of your model in many ways, right? you are thinking about how your model would be speaking in that situation, how your model would be feeling in that situation, right? So you're looking at the mental aspects, the physical aspects, right? And even the psychological, if you will, the psychological aspects. So what would my model be thinking? How would my model be feeling right now? How would my model be acting or speaking right now? Now, how does your brain know what your model would be doing? Well, this is where the observational, that is the conscious modeling comes in, where you study your model. You watch your model, you listen to your model, and in Pro 90D we actually have you practice speaking like your model. So in Pro 90D, the people who spend the most time modeling are the people who make the biggest transformations the fastest. Why? Because your brain has been absorbing, it's been observing and absorbing how your model speaks. It's been listening, it's been watching, it's been practicing how your model speaks. And therefore, when you're in an actual speaking situation, you're far more likely to be able to implement, right? To implement, to trigger that modeling style. You're far more likely to be able to speak like your model, to act like your model, to feel like your model, if you've been immersing yourself in practicing speaking like your model. Makes sense, right? So the more time you spend practicing speaking like your model, the more likely you will be able to execute that, to implement speaking like your model in a real life speaking situation and in high pressure speaking situations. Okay? So there's a direct correlation between the amount of time you spend practicing and observing your model and your ability to use your modeling style to implement it in real life speaking situations. No pressure, low pressure, high pressure. Okay. So one of the benefits of modeling is that it gives you something positive, something constructive to focus on while you're speaking. Okay. And therefore, because you can really only think about, concentrate on, focus one thing at a time. Now, our brains are so fast that we can bounce back and forth, but really focus on one thing. And that one thing is, how would my model say this, right? Now, of course, there's the content. There's what you're actually saying. And your brain is able to think about the content as well as think about how your model would deliver that content. You can do it. Thousands and thousands of people have done it. Millions of people have done it. I've probably helped thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands. So I know that you can do it. I did it myself. So you can think about, how would my model say this? How would my model feel right now? You borrow the confidence of your model. You borrow the calmness of your model. You borrow the clarity in which your model thinks and speaks. You borrow all of that. And when you think about that and you focus on that while you're speaking, what you're doing is you're kind of bending yourself, turning yourself, leaning yourself in to that direction, as opposed to allowing yourself to get negatively distracted and letting your brain think about how you spoke the last time and how you're probably going to struggle with this and what's going to happen, how embarrassing you're going to feel. Okay, I got to change these words. That's all negative stuff. That's not going to help you. When you think about your model, it will help you. Makes sense. So one of the benefits is that it acts as a positive distractor in the moment. The other thing that it does is it helps you to actually change how you speak. So when you model, you are practicing speaking, that is using the same speaking style, body language, as your model would. And if you can master that, right, if you can get that, then when you engage your model, that is, you ask yourself, how my model speaking? Some people can engage their model in different ways. They can pull up an image if they're visual. They can pull up an audio if they're auditory. Or they can just have this impression, right? It might not be visual, they might not be able to see, they might not be able to, but they can just sense or they can feel how their model would feel and speak and engage it that way. Or something that you do, like using more hand gestures, facial expressions, or the the pitch and tone of your voice, the voice inflection, how your model emphasizes the enthusiasm and excitement, all those things that when you do it, when you physically engage it, right, this is what we might call a kinesthetic learner. When you engage it, this engages your model. This causes you to implement your new modeling style. Okay, these are some of the common ways, by doing things that your model does, right, or by pulling up an image or pulling up an auditory or an audio of your model in your brain, or sometimes a combination, you're able to engage your model. So what this does is it actually changes how you speak, or it changes how you actually speak. Your speaking style changes. And when that happens, what you find is that you speak smoother, you speak clearer, you speak more confidently. So modeling helps you to not anticipate, or at least it reduces it. So in some cases it can reduce it, in other cases it will eliminate negative anticipation. But even if it doesn't eliminate it, when you begin to speak like your model, you speak better, you speak smoother, you can say the things. Sometimes you surprise yourself and say, wow, I thought I was going to struggle with that, but I actually didn't, right? You may be anticipating, you may be feeling a little anxious about it, but because you're modeling, you just blow right through it. You go right over it, you go right around it, and you're able to say what you want to say. So these are two super powerful benefits of modeling. Modeling works, so when someone says, oh, that doesn't work, well, it does work because it already has worked on you. You have already modeled. You already know how to model intuitively, instinctively, because that's how you learn much of what you know right now. And you are also unconsciously modeling the people that are around you. So it already works. We're simply engaging it on a conscious, intentional level. Again, many books. There's one that I know of, and then one of my previous students has sent me a link to another young lady who used modeling. And I have literally thousands of people who used modeling. Okay, all of my students, all of my clients, or at least my clients do. And so you can learn from them. But again, I've put an actual example in the email for you. Okay, so that's modeling. Let's talk now about the next one, which is proactive speaking skills. Proactive speaking skills. Now, what are proactive speaking skills? Proactive speaking skills are the skills, these are the things that you do, things that you can learn, behaviors that you can learn, ways that you can speak and act that help you engage the listener more, that help you to speak smoother, that help you to speak more clearly, that help you to project authority and confidence, that help you to project enthusiasm and energy. Everyone's enthusiasm and energy is different. My energy and enthusiasm is different from someone else's, right? But it doesn't mean that mine is any less or less legitimate or worse. So they're just different. We have different speaking styles. So you don't have to have the same high level of enthusiasm as someone else in order to be energetic and enthusiasm, in order to engage your listener, right? You have to learn that you don't have to speak like this level if that doesn't fit your personality. You can speak at this level and it'd be just as engaging. Okay, so you want to model someone that has the kind of speaking characteristics that you like, that maybe you don't possess yet, but you like them and you say, wow, I could speak that way. There are some people that I see, I'm like, I can't speak that way. That's not only is it is it not myself, but it's not even the kind of self that I'd like to be. So when you're modeling, you're not being yourself, and that's the purpose of it. You're not being yourself, but it has to be the kind of self that you want to be. So you look at your model and go, yes, that's how I'd like to be. You can look at another model and say, no, that's not the way I'd like to speak. Okay, it's perfectly fine. So I just wanted to be clear about, yeah, in both of these, you're not being yourself, but in one, it's a self that you desire, that you'd like to be like. So proactive speaking skills, and I'm not going to give those to you now. They're in the course, they're in the program, but I will give you an example. For example, like emphasizing, inflecting, body language. Those are just a few. Those are things. Articulating or over-articulating. These are all skills that you can learn, right? That you can learn that when you use them, it helps you develop momentum. It helps you speak smoothly. It helps you say the things that you want to say. It helps you change your speaking style. Your brain has to experience a change. Has to experience a change. If you keep speaking the same way, you'll keep getting the same results. So you have to change the way you speak. And so what we do in Pro 90D is we give you a very specific set of skills that you can learn that have the result of changing your speaking style. Now, all of these skills are embodied when you model. When you model, you automatically use all these skills, so you don't have to be overwhelmed and overloaded by thinking about, oh, I got to fly, I got to do this, I got to do that. Sometimes it's helpful to think about a skill and focus on the skill, but more often it's more helpful to think about how your model would speak, because then you're going to be using all of those skills, right, without having to think about them individually. Does this make sense? So the two ways that you model, or the two ways that you create your new speaking style, is the modeling and using proactive speaking skills. These are skills that you can practice, that you can learn. These are new styles, new ways, new habits, new patterns of speaking that you can learn, that you can observe. When you see anyone that speaks well, you will see them using some or all of these proactive speaking skills. So remember, Pro 90D is not just about helping you overcome a challenge like stuttering or speaking too fast or whatever it may be. It's designed to help you become an excellent speaker, an above average speaker. I like to use this example. Two equally qualified people go into a job interview, and one person, let's say who used to stutter, doesn't stutter anymore, doesn't struggle. The other person who used to stutter or struggle is an excellent speaker, excellent communicator. Who do you think is going to get the job? Equally qualified. But one person just doesn't stutter, but they speak okay. This person is an excellent communicator. Who's more likely to get the job? Equally qualified. Well, the person who's an excellent communicator, who can engage the interviewer, right? Who can communicate their ideas clearly, right? Who can say what they want to say what they want to say in the moment, the way that they want to say it. Same thing with a presentation. One person gets up, they do a presentation, they do okay. The other person gets up, excellent, they get an applaud. That was great, right? Who's going to get the applause? The person who's an excellent communicator. So Pro 90D is about helping you become an excellent communicator, and you can go from wherever you're at. Doesn't matter if you stutter, if you speak too fast, if you interrupt yourself. We call it interrupt, where you start and you stop and you double back, you repeat yourself. Whatever your struggles are with your speech, Pro 90D can help you get there if you do the work. All right? So today we talked about how to create your new speaking style. We talked about two ways. What were those two ways? The first way was what? Modeling. Modeling. We went into depth to talk about what modeling is. And then we talked about proactive speaking skills. And I gave you just a couple of quick examples of skills that you can learn and you can develop to help you change your speaking style, but to also make you an excellent communicator, an excellent speaker. Okay? And so the next time we're going to be talking about the P in CPU, which is practice. How do you practice? Well, we have some very specific activities for you to use, to engage, to help you practice your new speaking style, because you can create it, and the way you create it will be through practice. But in order to really learn it, to embed it, to be able to use it, you have to practice it. So we'll talk about some ways to do that. Now, if you're watching this video and you are struggling with your speech, that is, your social life is not where you want it to be, your family life, your relationship with yourself, that is your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, isn't where you want it to be. If your professional life is not where you want it to be, and you want to level up all those areas, your social life, personal, your professional life, financial, you want to take that to the next level, I want to encourage you to either get into our self-study, but if you want to accelerate the process, you're going to want to work with us one-on-one. So we'll have a link for you to do that. That's the fastest way. It will also be, as many of my clients say, one of, if not the very best investment you can make in yourself. And when I say investment, some of the returns that you get can be emotional, they can be spiritual, they can be physical. You feel better. You physically feel better. Psychologically, mentally, you feel better. But you also get a financial return, most likely. You get a financial return on your investment. So you invest a couple of thousand, a few thousand, whatever it is. You invest that into your speech. Well, guess what's going to happen? Because you're able to communicate better, you're going to go for the jobs that you want. You're going to get better jobs. You're going to get more jobs if that's what you want. You're going to be able to start your own businesses, or if you have your own, you're going to be able to sell more, communicate with your clients more. So you're going to get a financial return. And I see clients just recently, over the last, say, 6 months or so, last several months, we've seen clients go out, get jobs, and make more than their investment back just within a few months, within a couple of months, within a month of working with us. Okay, so the return on investment is high, and it's often very, very quick. It's very fast. You get it in a very short period of time if you have things that you want to apply for. So understand that you're not just throwing away your money. You are throwing away your money if you don't do the work. So you have to do the work. Okay, so again, fastest way to level up your speech, to up-level your speech, is to work with us privately. But some of you may not be able to afford that. You may just want to get started with the self-study. That's okay too. You can find that self-study on our website. Thank you so much for watching this video. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. My name is Michael Williams, and we'll see you soon.